England, one of the favourites, whether you agree with that or not, have been drawn in Group L against Croatia, Ghana and Panama. Nader Manua joining us now to talk more about it. Obviously, Croatia's interesting, given the fact that they faced each other in the semi-20.
Why did you say whether you agree with that or not?
But it's not even shots fired at anyone. It just feels that England are always so high on the list when it comes to favourites, and you wonder why sometimes. Is it fair to say?
I thought you had a feeling that everybody was against you.
No, it's because the booking, they always put England.
They always put England
second
high,
favourite.
right? And everybody is against them, to be fair.
Oh, there's.
But rightfully so, sometimes.
It's because of your attitude, guys.
Do you get where I'm coming from, Nader?
I know exactly where you're coming from, Kate. And Craig, what you missed earlier on in one of the previous shows was the fact that Jules was talking about France and France was talking about France, but they mentioned France by saying they should be ahead of England. So that's roughly where that comes from. But I think from the perspective of this England side, you know, we've seen them in recent tournaments not necessarily play to their best as we saw in Germany last summer, but the fact is they were 90 minutes away from achieving something which, you know, we hadn't seen them do before. So going into this World Cup, they're going to be prepared. They've got a manager on the sidelines now who is relatively new to international football. But the fact is, I think there's a sense that he's not going to be as conservative as Gareth Southgate, and some of the decisions we've seen him make in the last few months probably indicate that that's going to be the case going to the tournament in the summer. I think as far as resources go, in terms of their setup, their base and the players feeling ready, you know, everything will be done, no stone will be left unturned. But ultimately, can you go to the competition and perform at your absolute best? The conditions will be tough. Some of the teams they'll play along the way could be tricky themselves, but they've got a good bunch of players who aren't just at the beginning of this cycle. For some of them, you could argue it's even towards the end. Like somebody like Harry Kane, for example, 32 years of age. Maybe this could be his last World Cup. So you know how much it's going to mean to him and some of those players that were there in 2018, in 2020, 22, 24, you know. So this is a big opportunity for them, and I fancy them to go potentially all the way.
There we go.
Easy, there we go.
There we go, Nader. See,
He said it.
The over. What's the word? Over enthusiasm.
Over enthusiasm, overconfidence.
Overconfident.
Yeah.
Over arrogant.
Yeah, maybe.
It's coming home, you know.
I mean, I would imagine. I would imagine they've already mapped out the open top bus route in London.
Yeah.
You know, for England. But Julian Laurens is correct. For what, you know, this is only the bookies, right? But France should be ahead of England, arguably because they have better players.
They played the last two World Cups.
But they have won more than England recently. They knocked England out of the World Cup. Okay, and Qatar. Okay, Harry Kane missed the penalty. These things can happen. But France have won World Cups, they've won Euros. England have been better, there's no doubt about that. And listen, England have some great players.
Yeah.
And they have hired an experienced manager from a rival country in Germany, who is reportedly the man who, when the moment comes, in the knockout stages, and England are up against it, or their backs to the wall, or whatever it is, he is the man that should be able to make the changes that Gareth Southgate could not. That's what he's paid for. That's what we're told he's going to do, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out if he's the guy that can, like England against Croatia in the semi-final of the World Cup, they were getting beaten in the middle of the park by Croatia, who were outnumbered them. And we all sat watching the game going, he's got to change it, Southgate. He's got to change it. He didn't. And Tuchel, to me, is the guy that's going to have to make these big calls and not so much picking a team. Picking a team's not easy, but it's not as easy as changing it within a game. And if he gets that right, I think England could have a really, really good tournament. But is it going to be a semi-final and knocked out again, or I don't know.
Let's go one before that. If the seeds hold and it goes to the quarterfinals, it could be England against Brazil. Who would you have in that, Frank? England or Brazil?
England, 100%.
Yep, at the moment.
I mean, they have. Can England win the World Cup? Yes. Do they have the players for that? Yes. My concern is the spirits around the national team and the fact that the players think club before a national team. It's always been like that for a while, and especially in the 90s, it's getting a little bit less, but it's still not there. I don't find the chemistry. The Bellingham issue is an issue. When you don't know and you have to fight like 6 months before the World Cup, who's going to play, if it's going to be Foden, if it's going to be Bellingham, if it's going to be somebody else, you already have a problem. And you can create tension inside the group. And that's the difference between France, they don't have any problem, they know who's going to play. Argentina, they know who's going to play. Even Portugal, even if they have Ronaldo, they know who's going to play. And you don't have any issues and problem around that national team. But overall, yes, it's doable for England, but I still see that issue. It's him and him and him and him. It should be him plus him plus him plus him. That's how you become a champion of the world. Right now, they're not there.
Right. Germany, we said we'd talk about them. They're in Group E, and it could be sneaky difficult. Obviously, Curaçao, one of the easier teams in there. Ivory Coast and Ecuador also in Group E as it stands. Germany, the 4 times World Cup winners, are a different Germany side to the ones we maybe grew up with, but they are hoping that they're going through something of a resurgence, Nedum, under Nagelsmann.
Yeah, and they'd be right to be hoping that, because the drop-off isn't something that many of us probably expected to see with the talent that they have and the history that they have as well. But even in looking at that group there, we've tried to be respectful to Curaçao and to give them credit for being there, but I think being there is probably going to end up being the peak of their achievements. But those other 2 games for Germany, maybe they are a bit different. Playing against an Ivory Coast side, playing against an Ecuador side, who are going to play a different style of football. When you're playing teams that aren't from the federation, you sometimes wonder how the styles are going to match up. Because yes, they do have the talent, they have the quality. But say, for example, maybe the way that tactically teams play is different. Maybe the way physicality is a bit different. How will these games be refereed? How will the conditions play into matters as well? So I think it's really, really interesting. And for Germany, they'll believe that not only can they get out of the group, they can probably go all the way because they have, done that before. But that journey to get there, it might not be as simple as, say, some people would think. And I think it's a great point that you've made.
I think if you haven't watched Germany, you might think, Germany, they could win the World Cup, because that's Germany. And you mentioned resurgence. They beat Slovakia in the final group game in Leipzig. But the game before that, I believe it was Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
And they were lucky. I mean, they struggled. And they struggled against Northern Ireland, who are a very small country with a small player pool. They struggled against Liechtenstein. They really, really struggled in that group. Now, they had a really great performance in that Slovakia game. You just saw the Serge Gnabry goal there. Slovakia were very poor. But if you struggled against Northern Ireland and Liechtenstein, I think it was Liechtenstein, then Ecuador and Ivory Coast are going to be no rollovers. Not for this current German side and the current guys that they're in. Do they have better players in these teams? Probably yes. But they were just so unconvincing in the group stage that I think at the moment you'd have to guess what kind of Germany are going to turn up in North America in 6 months' time, because I don't even think Nagelsmann, the coach, has any idea.
The 7th favourites, Frank.
Yeah, because of history, not because of what they are showing right now.
So they shouldn't even be there for you?
No, I don't think so. With what we have seen, I think they're going to be. If they play Curaçao the first game, they're going to get the 3 points. They're going to be almost qualified, and they can manage a draw with some. But it's going to be for the rest of the competition. And you can have Germany playing against a big team, one of the favorites maybe, and this square is going to be tense for them because they didn't show anything. I was talking about England and the chemistry. They don't have that chemistry, that's for sure. But they lost the talent. They have very good players. If you name the individuals, they're good. But they don't compete, they don't match to each other. And that's why Germany is not the Germany we have known.